This week in car audio. Tune in. We'll be talking about bass, talking about chips, talking about rings. You ain't got them, zip your lip. You got a problem you haven't found, check your grounds. The show about to start. Tune in. This week in car audio. Yeah. Tune in. This week in car audio.
Welcome to This Week in Car Audio with your host, the Judge, Doug Stockton. We got a guest co-host today, Wyatte Meier. How's it going, Wyatte?
Good.
Hey, tell us a quick thing about you real quick before we head over and talk to Nick here. What you doing?
Thanks for having me on, Doug.
Oops.
I am a newer judge taking over for Jeremy Weber's area. Some of you watching might have seen me at finals on the East Coast. Really only been doing it by myself for about a year and a half, and just trying to get in and learn more.
All right, cool. So he is, are you Midwest North, or what would you call your region? What states? What stuff like that?
Yeah, kind of Midwest. Brandon Rosser does up to the 2X's kind of over in Michigan area, but I've done shows in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana. I did do a 3X in Michigan, so kind of the Midwest area. Most of our shows are in Wisconsin.
Okay. All right. And hey, there's SQ Sounds chiming in from Barbados. Says Merry Christmas to everyone. You know them, Tristan and Tiffany, right, Nick?
I do know them.
Oh, yeah. They're chiming in there.
We're actually waiting on an email from her right now.
All right, Tristan. You've been called out. Tiffany. You waiting on Tiffany or Tristan? I don't know
Tiffany.
Their dynamic. Okay, so
Tiffany.
Tiff. Oh,
Yeah.
Tiffany's on Facebook. Tristan's on YouTube. All right. So let me hear real quick and just hit a couple of people on here. We got Sayavak. We got Tom Selleck, Rob Collar, Jeremy Becker chiming in. Jay from Jay's Alarms. He said he's in Kentucky right now. Rob Collar, Ray Maestas all watching. Bo Borden, Tiffany Paris, Woody McDonald. Ray Maestas says Happy New Year to y'all. But okay, so let's get to it, Nick. There's some other things we are going to talk about tonight, but first and foremost, so you've been on here before. We kind of introduced your company, which is Incriminator Audio. So just real quick, at World Finals, did you guys tally your numbers and how many competitors and championships and all that yet?
You think we would as much as we do DP drag racing, but I couldn't tell you. There was quite a few of us.
Yes, there were. I mean, I have to say on East and West, we had the Incriminator guys drove from back east over to the West, and obviously on the East, you have Bo Borden, you have Gorman Cassidy, you have Rob Collar, who's been on here multiple times. So, but yeah, no. So we have a handful of people. Why don't you tell us about this new subwoofer you got out there?
So we are basically in the next week and a half going to come out with the new Warden. This is what we call every revision is the new R, whatever it would be in this case. The current one is the R3. We're going to start out the new year with the R4. We'll start from the beginning. The original one was basically meant to be a burp only driver. This was before the base race, base boxing, street beat, all that type of stuff that we do now. So basically it was a pure burp woofer, had a tight gap, it was basically just made for burps. It wasn't made for long duration music, anything like that. And that worked out really well for us. Well, the second version, the R2, we started playing around with opening the gap up, going to a bigger coil. We lost some motor force as a part of that process, but those woofers did really well in those, average classes, so to speak, where you're playing music for 30 seconds or 1 minute, or, bass boxing or bass race or what have you. And then the R3, the one we have now, basically took the two worlds um, and put them together where you get something that can do the best of both. And then basically the R4, what we're coming out with next, is basically just a supersized version of that. So basically a woofer that can do anything, and it's got quite a bit more motor force. So there's a substantial output difference in the lanes, and that's what everybody wants. Is we're showing about 1.8 or so, give or take, between the 3 and the 4.
And so, what is the motor on this Ferrite Neo? What are we doing with the motor?
Yeah, basically it's just a new version of the Neo. The two design goals for this driver was we wanted it to be louder, obviously, and we wanted it to weigh less. So we hit both of those. Like I said, we're almost 2 dB louder in our testing in house, and our testing in house tends to be a little more stringent than a real world competitor, because we're doing it in a test box where it's more of an extreme style application. So that was the first goal, and the second goal was it needed to go on a diet. So we shaved about 20 or so pounds off of it, so it's a lot easier to handle and deal with.
Yep. But we all know about those garage scores. So,
Well,
hey, if we did a garage score world finals, everybody would be beating Alan Dante. They'd be destroying him. We would all be in the 180s, right?
well, I mean, I guess technically it would be a garage score at the moment, but in a couple of weeks, everybody will find out for sure.
No, that's cool. I'm just giving you a hard time about that, Nick. It's just like I said, we hear that competitors, we as judges, oh, they pull into the lanes. Oh, dude, it's coming. I got this one. I'm gonna hit a 155 today. 152. What?
Uh,
I hear that so often. What about you, Wyatt?
Yeah. Usually my guys are like, I haven't metered before. My ear tells me it's going to do a 150.
Yeah. So Nick, speaking of that, do you get those calls at your shop? Well, I'm hitting a 192, and I was thinking about, maybe purchasing your woofers. You think you can get me over 200 dB?
those calls don't really bother me as bad as the people who call and say, "Hey, I'm in DB Drag or Mecca or pick any format you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I've never competed before, and I want to we'll just use DB Drag for example.
Okay.
I've never competed before, and I want to build a super street or an extreme car, and I want you to tell me what to do so I can compete and win." And I'm just like, so you want to build either a super street, like a super street 5+ vehicle, and you want to go do a 170 plus, and you want to win, and you want me to tell you how to do this in a 10-minute phone conversation over the phone.
Absolutely.
Those are my favorite.
Oh. But he's bought 210s from you, the lethal injections, so he's already there.
Yeah. We get into that sometimes and whatever. It's very interesting to explain these things to people sometimes, and the ironic part is most of the time they never even been to a show. So when I say, well, you should just go and see it first, and then they call back and they're like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah. So speaking of that, give us a quick rundown of your lineup again, as far as the level of subwoofers and what you guys, price
Sure.
points.
We got the I series, which is our stamped steel 500 watt RMS 2.5-inch coil driver. Those are in the 150 range. And then we have the lethal injection, which is the next step up, which is the 1,000 watt 3-inch coil. Those are in the high twos. Then from there, we step up to the 1,500 watt model, which is soon to be, we're changing some of those out, so something newer as well too. So then you have, it's kind of a mid model, like a 1,500 watt model. It's in the 4 range, 3-inch was cool. And then you go from there, you go to the death penalty, which is one of our biggest sellers that we have. The new model is the R7. It's an 8-layer coil. It's about a 600 price point. It comes in 12s, 15s, 18s, 21s. We offer it for competitors, so it comes in dual 1, dual 2 standard. We also have dual 3, 5, dual 5, and all the different suspension compliances you want. And then that's the same with the rest of the line. Then up from there, we go to from the 2,500 watt death penalty, we go to the 3,000 watt judge. Same thing, all the different coil configurations and sizes. And then from there, we go to the Warden, which is as of currently the biggest thing we make. We're going to come out with sometime in 22, you're going to see a 4-inch coil version. That's going to be a new 5,000 watt. Everybody wants these big crazy ones, so going to be a big reserve 8-layer coming probably in the next few months.
All right. No, that's cool. You have any questions for him so far, Wyatt?
Yeah, so something that people may not be thinking about is I know for me right now, supply chain stuff is becoming a concern. Some of these competitors that are maybe thinking about ordering some of these, has any of this really hit you guys? Are you seeing long lead times, or is it pretty much when they come out, you guys are ready to rock and ship them out?
It's kind of hit or miss depending upon what it is. Some of the models that we have are not really affected because we already had supply available or something that was already in works for all this happened. Some of the other models have been heavily affected. Like I said, the death penalty is one of our #1 sellers. That model has been in and out of stock multiple times just because the new model has a different voice coil that we can't get that new style coil for it. So that's caused some problems. And then we've had multiple delays. We're hoping to have the new Warden out before finals. That was kind of our mission, is to sneak a new one in at the last minute, and be able to have a pretty good advantage going in. But supply chain disruption, didn't let any of that happen. And ironically enough, we would have been able to have the driver ready about a week and a half after finals, when it all came together right after it would have all said. So after that, we kind of put the brakes on and decided to try to try it again. But no, we have had supply chain issues all year. We've had a lot of patient customers, and we've had some orders that's taken 3, 4, 5 months to ship just because we don't have something you can imagine. But luckily, like I said, most customers have been patient, and the other rest of them understand because they can't get something from somebody else as well too. So it's kind of just given. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have a question over here from Tristan Paris out of Barbados. He says, Nick, have you guys ever thought about doing an 8-inch subwoofer?
Yes and yes. And we are currently tooling the 8-inch shredder platform right now. That's going to be a new project for 22. I've had lots of customers ask about an 8. The shredder platform is the high excursion stuff that we've been doing, and we've been kind of taking our time. We've had so much other projects going on. We just launched all the new amplifiers, so all that's kind of, we've got about half those in, and the other half are about to come. So we're going to have a whole new line. We got a new 5-channel, all kind of stuff. We've got a new big 4-channel. So anyway, but yeah, so this past year, because supply chain problems, a lot of things got delayed. That's one of them. So we have been testing out some 2.5-inch and 3-inch 8-inch drivers, trying to get that narrowed down, and hopefully by summer or so we'll have something like that, in the 800 watt range.
I will say there are some good quality 8-inch drivers out there currently on the market, so that may be a tough one to crack on there. But typically, you will find people that are loyal to a brand have no problem buying the 8-inch. Right now, that will help fulfill a gap for some of your clients, like motorcycles, maybe some door pods, or especially like you were talking about, like those Cyclone guys or those demo guys, right? 8-inch drivers are an important part of those type builds. So I understand that, and that's actually great news. Your amplifiers, your IX amplifiers, you want to talk a little bit about those?
Sure. So, the competitors are all worried about this, the 6.1, the IX 6.1, which is the 6,000 watt model. We also have the IX 8.1, which is the 8,000 watt model. And then we also have the IX 15.1, which is another one of those last minute things you got to see at finals that came in. Those are the new 15,000 watt amps. And then we've been spiraling that backwards. We've got a 4.1 coming out. It's a 4,000 watt model, and then we're trickling down. There's going to be a 1.1, a 2.1, and a 3.1. we got the new 12.4 out, the Axe 12.4, which is a new 300 by 4. And then about 2 weeks ago, we just released the new IX 17.5, which is the first time we've ever had a 5-channel. So we've got, basically like 125 by 25 by 4, and then a 1200 by 1. A lot of our, I just talked to one of my retailers today that loves these amps just because one-stop shop. You basically have a 10.1 and a 6.4 in one package. So that's been a big hit so far for us.
Well, once again, just like I talked about the 8-inch, that's also you're just stop gapping, so you're filling in these gaps that people have that you had in your lineup, which is absolutely an awesome idea. I can appreciate that. As you know, my background in manufacturing and with where we were, but that's great that you're doing that. I can't even express how cool that is that you are filling in those gaps. Now, the next thing you need is head units.
I don't think I want to dig into that market. We've got lots of cool things we're working on. We've been getting beat up by a lot of retailers for a nice shallow mount, so we're trying to come up with. We got some prototype stuff. We're trying to get all that worked out. I talked to at least a dozen of those, and they all want something like a 12, for example, something that's 4.5 inches or less. So we've been able to come up with some pretty creative things for that.
So like the back of a GMC type. Yukon or whatever, replacing the factory sub.
Yeah, so a lot of people want that type of stuff. So, but that's shallow mounts are not really easy to get into, and especially the ones like we want to do something. We want to do something that's going to at least be 700-800 watt range.
Right.
And has we have one right now that's going to be probably 750 watts, and it's got about 15 millimeters of throw, which is fairly impressive for something that's in a 4 or so inch package. So yeah, we got a bunch of stuff like that we're trying to do. We got a lot of people. We about a year or so ago, in the middle of COVID, we had a little bit of extra free time because we had about a month where it's kind of slow, and we asked a lot of the retailers, "Hey, what do you want?" And I didn't really know we were going to get the mountain list, so we've been trying to go through those, prioritize those, and like I said, the 5-channel was on there, which we have now. The bigger 4 channels on there, and then the 8s, they're coming, and then there's I'm sure after this goes out, I'll get 10 more people tell me 10 more things they would like to have. So
yeah. So one thing that you didn't bring up that I think is an important feature of your IX brand is that it's a regulated power supply.
Yeah, so that's one of the things is that I don't know, a lot of these new competitors probably don't know, but back in the day, like when we had the big MTX Rockford days from way back in the day, 20 years ago, power wasn't prevalent like it is now. It was hard to do, so a lot of these competitors were cutting out protection circuits, and we got into the whole 16 volt thing, to try to get that going. And and at the time we were all for it because you had to have a competitive advantage. And I've been talking to Wayne for 2 or 3 years now, telling him, this whole voltage thing is nonsense. It just needs to go away. When manufacturing, DB drag was one of those things that made everybody competitive, and we did it to be competitive. But the problem is we started going too far in left field trying to be competitive that we got off the main page. No one needs an amplifier like our IA line that we're basically replacing now. A lot of those amps are stable up to 19 volts because these guys had these 16 volt charging systems that were going to charge into the 18.1, 18.2 range. So, we're getting away from where we need to be. So I've been pushing Wayne for a long time. We need to get back to that. And, and now's the perfect time because most of these guys are either running caps or lithium or some variation of. And it's just a situation where I call my guys and go, hey, I called Gorman and, Bo and all them and said, hey, we're making this move. And they really just said, all right, well, we're just going to buy some new bus bars and we're going to rebus them. And, we're going to gain some capacity because that's just how it's going to be because we're going to, our banks, we're going to have more banks. Right. So now's the perfect time to make that transition. So I've been pushing for it for a long time. So if I'm going to push for it, we're going to have to do, go for it as well too. So all the new amps are regulated, they're all stable up to 16 volts, like Gorman and those guys, they were all charging to like 15.1 in the lanes. And, you don't have to worry about going over 18 or any of that because, as long as they stay, 12 plus, they're going to get the same amount of power no matter what. So I want to see a time where we don't have any more of these high voltage amps. We need to start phasing them out.
I would agree with that. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Wyatt?
No, I mean, it sounds, I mean, I haven't been around long enough to see all the creative solutions people came up with for bypassing and getting the most out of it. But no, it sounds like a lot of cool stuff happening.
Oh yeah, there's been some creative solutions, is what we'll call that. It's kind of bending the rules, stretching the rules, really stepping on its back and pushing on its head. Yeah, we've been flexing the rules quite a bit on trying to make that 18 volts. That's why we had to put that in there as a maximum. There was back in the day they had the Harrison Labs, right, which was essentially it was a battery charger that you called an amplifier. So it put out 12,500 watts at 60 hertz, and essentially you just plug it in, right? And the more voltage you give it, the more power it produces. So we had to put in there. That's why there's rules in place. Has to be a car audio related device and whatnot. So now that we're there, let's start with Wyatt there. Wyatt, so last week we talked a little bit about rules and some stuff. And for you guys that don't know, Nick, how long have you been participating in DB Drag, either on the manufacturing side, competitive side, or just pit crew?
The beginning, probably 97-ish.
Okay.
98-ish.
Yeah. Like I said, just for you guys that don't know, the first time I met Nick, he may have even had Incriminator no, he didn't have Incriminator because that would have been before I knew him. So he was there at World Finals, and I believe it was Alan Riley's van, and he blew like 7 of his 12 or 9 subwoofers. And Nick jumped in and helped him switch out every single subwoofer because you only have 5 minutes. If you blow something and you tie, you have 5 minutes to rerun again. And I bet, Nick, you were part of that line of just people throwing subwoofers in the guy's car.
Oh, you're talking about when Scotty Johnson
was it Scotty's?
It was Scotty's van. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean that was an awesome thing. It was people from other teams. There was 2 guys inside the box, freaking wiring subs up. Guys just freaking loading them in, pulling them out.
Yep.
That was one of the most impressive pit crew maneuvers I've ever seen at World Finals.
Yeah, it was one of the things a lot of people don't know that made it pretty impressive is Scotty had one guy that helped him. He was this big, super strong guy, and they would get enough screws. He was using drywall screws. He would get 3 or 4 screws out enough he could get his hand under it, and the guy would reach under it and break them off because they didn't have time to take all the screws out. And then they would just turn the sub a little bit and then just put in new ones. And that's how they were changing. They had people in the box that were wiring them up as they were loading them as fast as they could do it. So yeah, I don't think we changed out all 12 of them, but
I think it was either 7 or 9.
I'm pretty sure it was like 7 of them that they changed out in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you had 5 minutes to open the car, figure out which ones were broken, replace them, and close the car back up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of the most impressive pit crew things I have ever seen at World Finals, and I know Nick was part of that chain. So, but I always thought it was the Riley's van, but you're saying that was Johnson's.
No, Scotty was going against the Riley. That's why you
probably
got it. Yeah, he was in one lane, they were in the other one.
Actually, just talked to Alan Riley 2 weeks ago. He happens to be busy on Monday nights. He bowls league on Monday nights, and he actually bowls. I know he actually bowls with a couple of Hall of Fame professionals. So I'm kind of a little jealous on that side, but that's cool. And I actually plan on moving down there by Alan. Probably in about 8 to 10 years. But he did say his brother would be interested in coming on. So we're going to have the other Riley brother on there. So it's Alan and is it Bob? Robert, right?
Bob, yeah.
Bob Riley, yeah. So great pair of guys, hardcore competitors, a little bit before your time, Wyatt. But they were awesome competitors. So now we got that part understood. Wyatt, is there any rules or stuff? Because we started this last week, so we just like to continue it a little bit because we have about another 20 minutes left in the program today. Because once again, somebody's got to go bowling. I'm just saying. Uh, man, hey, bowling pays good. I made $800 bowling this Saturday, so not bad. I got to go have a good time, and they paid me $800 to do it. So, anyway, anything you would like to see in the rules, modifications, anything like that, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a few things at finals,
Uh huh.
that were either, like we had a couple gray area, things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One I think has to be a clarification on, the lifting of the vehicles.
Yeah, we hit that one pretty strong. Uh, Let me see. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick. Actually, I got it right here. Let's see. Who did I talk to about that? That was anything else. Go ahead and talk, and I'll get. Oh, here we go. Aaron Bryant. So that's sound check, Aaron, and we actually had that discussion, and he agrees. He's like, hey, we weren't trying to violate any rules, and he didn't. I mean, they sent us pictures, all the judges, and I will tell you, I looked hard to find a violation of the rule, and I couldn't come up with one. Um, and I think he's right in saying that he's doing this to help clarify rules. You know, um, I don't think we should have let it go that far, but that's something that happened way prior to this. On the European side, they were building these cars up super tall, way before they ever did that in the United States. But now that it's here in our face, we're forced to deal with it. Nick, do you have any rules or clarifications you're interested in seeing possibly?
Um, like I said, I would like to get rid of the voltage stuff. I think that's just, just encourages
Are you
people.
talking across the board?
Well, I'm just saying the high voltage stuff, the 18 volt. I think we should do away with all that, just because manufacturers are not going to want to create those items because they can't use them, and that puts everything back to more consumer based. Which I'm not going to call 15,000 watt amp as consumer based now, but honestly, that unit can then be sold at retail because a consumer doesn't feel like he has to put in some crazy charging system or something like that. So I like to see that type of stuff go away. And I'm generally for any rule like the vehicle lift definitely needs to be dealt with. I don't fault Soundcheck for doing what they did because they could do it, but my concern is if something like that's allowed to go on for too long, then it causes a problem because then what happens is you get guys on my team, guys on other teams going, well, if they're not going to fix it, then we're going to have to be forced to keep up. And then and the reason I'm concerned about this is if you get a whole army of these things, it's hard to tell everybody no, which is the boat we're in now on the high voltage stuff. They feel like, oh, there's so many of these amps that are out in the marketplace that we can't just outlaw all of them because there's all this equipment. So I kind of feel like anytime there's a problem, whether it be this or something else, and it's giving the competitor a competitive advantage, it needs to be dealt with pretty quickly because if not, it's going to spiral out of control too fast and we can't fix it.
I would agree with that. So are you advocating for removing voltage limits through all classes from stock all the way through extreme?
I'm fine with what they are. I just think the super street classes and the extreme classes need a 16 volt cap, regardless of how we get there. It's going to be a 16 volts. Like I said, I won't.
Oh, so you want to lower
Yeah,
the okay.
yes, we should be 16 volt cap across the board on everything, and that way you got these people that are they have a 12 volt system charging into the high 14, low 15 range.
15 threes, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying 15.5 for a while, but you got these C-Max guys that are charging it 15.7, 15.8 range. So I think
Right.
16 is a perfect cap, and then we don't have to worry about it because then everybody has at the end of the day a 12 volt charging system. Because if you look back when manufacturing was prevalent back in like the MTX Rockford days, somebody came to a show as a spectator and they looked in one of those cars and they saw, like, for example, the MTX 81,000Ds or 1501s or what have you.
Right.
They could look at that equipment and they could even though this van has 36 of those. They're never going to put 36 of those in there, but they can say, well, I can afford to buy one of those.
Right.
And this is what the big guys use.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're to a point where nobody can come and look at any of my guys' cars and go, oh, they're all running 20,000 watt amps. Well, I'm definitely not going to buy one of those. So we're never going to have a perfect solution for it, but I think we can kind of narrow it back into where it's at least in the I could at least buy that and put it in my car, as opposed to I have to have something special.
Well, I will tell you, I'm seeing in daily drivers now a lot of 6,000 watt amplifiers.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
that was an insane number just 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like hell no.
Yeah, the 4,000 and 6,000s are one of some of our best selling amplifiers.
Right.
So, but once again, the customer sees that and they think, well, I can, it's all 12-volt based, even though it's a bigger version. It's still, they don't, back in the day, people would have two charging systems or step down modules so the car can run and all this stuff. So now that we just have one system across the board, it's a lot easier to talk somebody, a retailer could say, oh, you put a couple extra batteries or what have you, and you can do this. It's a lot different than how it used to be. Well, we're going to have two alternators. We're going to have one charging your bank, and we're going to have one that runs your car. That's a little retarded,
Yeah. So I mean, I will say, remember, guys, once again, for you guys listening back at home on the podcast or watching here, Wayne's essential rule is if there's a class that you want to add, you have to remove a class. So always think whenever you suggest to a judge or to Wayne or whatever that, hey, we want to add this class, like the freestyle. I had a lot of people wanting to add like power classes in the freestyle. What's your thoughts on that, Wyatt?
Adding the power classes in the freestyle, I'm torn on it because a lot of the people that I was pushing people toward in that are people that there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to clamp their speaker wires, or they've got 8 pairs of them, or whatever's going on.
Yep.
So if there are power classes, I don't know that a lot of people I'm going to be able to put them in those classes because I just won't be able to clamp them, right?
So for me at my shows, I do 2 classes for the freestyle. I do stock and I do super street, and you fall into one of those 2 classes.
Right.
And I'm getting about 6 people in each one of those classes every show. And like you said, it's a couple of the competitors that, they're like 151-ish, but they want to see that 156 or 155. So yeah, I'm going to jump into freestyle this time, So that's what I'm seeing on the competitors. Nick, what year did you start sponsoring the rings, by the way?
I think we're about 5 or 6 years into it now. I mean, yeah, somewhere in that range. I don't know exactly when.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So
maybe 16ish, somewhere in that range. It may have been 15. I can't keep track.
No, that's awesome. Like I said, it's really cool. If you guys happen to win a ring at World Finals, it has the Incriminator logo on one side and then has your information on the other side. And like I said, that's solely as soon as Wayne announced a ring sponsor. Did you go to him for that?
No, I don't know. Something happened with someone that was doing it before. I don't remember. Something happened and it got brought up to me, and I just told Celeste that I would take it, and then and then and then later on it worked out well, and it got brought up again. And I just told Celeste, I was just like, hey, listen, don't ask me anymore. The ring, the badge, and the shirt or whatever, just write me in. It's done.
Send me an invoice.
Just send me an invoice or whatever. It's over and done with. So that's pretty. So now I just basically get told, here it is. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And then I get her to order me an extra one. And I've got one for all the years we're eventually going to have a display case, something to put them all in. Because we're hoping, if materials have been crazy and we just bought a new piece of property, but we're hoping to build a new facility the next year or so, and we're gonna have a lot of that stuff in the new place. So hopefully, I've got a whole stack of stuff like that we'll be able to put in our our lobby
Like
or
a
whatever.
lobby thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I will tell you. Did you see Scotty Johnson's new place today?
Oh yeah, yeah. I knew all
Oh,
about it.
I know
Me,
you knew about it,
me and
but
him keep in touch. It's been coming for a year. It seems like.
oh yeah, yeah. Did you see it, Wyatt?
No.
Oh, did I post on? What is it? 193,000 square feet or something like that? Or no, he's expanding to 193,000.
Yeah, he's having to add on. He doesn't have enough warehouse space, believe it or not.
Right, it's 160,000 square feet or something like that. Is that right there in the Phoenix outskirts, Mesa or something like that? Or where's he
No,
at? No, no,
no,
no, Sky's.
it's in Knoxville. It's in Knoxville. It's
Oh,
right off
Knoxville,
the
Tennessee.
interstate. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, anyway, I did post to him. I says, "Hey, Wayne Sleece said, how many cars does it fit?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be a great place for World Finals. It sounds like to me." Not,
he'd have a heart attack.
he would have a heart attack.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been at World Finals when it's been at some really cool places. So, but shoot, he can clear out 60,000 square feet for us for a weekend. Come on,
He probably could.
he probably could, even though he's out of space,
Yeah,
right?
he's out of space. Yeah.
So no, that's great. Like I said, it's always cool to see people that are part of DB drag or any competition thing, and they have grown into something. Their livelihood and their not their existence, but their livelihood and their identity has grown from DB drag, from just being some guy who competes on the weekends to that's how they support their family. And I mean, how many different families do you got working for you, Nick?
Got one, two, about six or so, six or
So
seven.
so you're solely responsible for six additional families, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and how cool is that? That somebody that was just a competitor, or just, I mean, I don't even know. Did you even compete? Because I only saw you as a pit crew guy.
I competed for a couple of years, and
Okay.
that led me into the manufacturing world, and then that kind of
Yep.
all went away. So.
Yeah. So, but okay. So, some guy who just had fun on the weekends, essentially, and hanging out with his buddies and building crap, turned it into a way to support seven families.
Yeah.
That to me is just the most amazing part of all this DB drag stuff. So,
It may actually be more than that because a lot of people that work here are kin anyway. So
oh, are they?
I've got a couple different people here. I mean, I got 3 or 4 family members that are related to me that work here. So it's a lot more than what it sounds. But when you break it all down, it's not as many as it sounds. But yeah, there's a few of us for sure.
No, that's freaking awesome. I actually tried. So I have 3 kids. One of them lives in Reno. One of them moved back home with me, and one of them lives in Wichita. I gave all 3 of them the opportunity. Hey, I will buy you a DB drag trailer. We'll set it all up, and you guys can do shows. I mean, serious though, right? It there's what good I mean, if we had shows in Kansas and my daughter can do them out there, and say she makes $500 a weekend or whatever,
Yeah.
but she puts on these shows, it can grow DB drag, right?
No, for sure. For
and
sure.
and it grows our
And
influence
that's pretty much how everything starts. Is you got to start somewhere. I said a lot of people that work for me were, somebody I knew that went to school with, needed a job, cousin or whatever, and then, they come to work one day and then you don't think anything about it, or they get it. Like I had one guy that was a friend of the family, got a summer job, and he was 15 or something, and that was 10 years ago. He's like 25 now, and he still works here. So it's just amazing how something, I give somebody a summer job and then they never leave.
You have to kick them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's Rusty, there's Scotty Johnson. Who else can you name off the top of your head? I mean, those are 3 big, and I deal with you guys on a regular basis, right? So that's why.
You mean that we're competitors first?
Competitors, and then all of a sudden branched out and started.
I mean, I don't know. Jake at Sundown competed for a while, so
yeah,
I don't know
Jake at Sundown. You have Roger at
a Crossfire.
At Crossfire. You have
Yeah.
Jeffrey over at Crossfire too now, right?
So, yeah, I would say probably at least half of the niche companies are started competitor based in some form or fashion.
Yeah, So I mean, I just to me personally, I think that's awesome. I've been in the game now. I was a competitor in '99 or '98 was when I first started competing. Got into manufacturing in early 2000, and I was doing R&D for companies in late '99. So all that stuff was. I just think it's awesome that that's actually became people's livelihood. I mean, just to me, that's one of the cool things about this whole thing. And I'm sure there's YouTubers Steve Mead, right? Steve Mead, one a huge YouTube guy, started in DB Drag, competitor. Now he makes more off of that than you probably do in your company. He just makes he does very well at that YouTube thing. So
Yeah, I tell people, a lot of these people had a business, and then they started out as a hobby, turned into a business that's brought out of control. People ask me, fairly often, like, when I'm, and my joke is, I started doing it for fun, and the next thing you know, I woke up and there was my logo on everything that I own. It's just kind of one of those things you don't really, it's kind of like, having a kid in your house. You have them, and you don't really notice day to day how much bigger they get or how they grow until you don't see family for 6 months, and they're like, "Holy crap, he's got big."
yep,
So company's kind of the same thing. You don't really know it when you're in the middle of it,
yep.
but when you start telling stories like these, in '99, and you start thinking, yeah, that was like forever ago,
Dude, I remember you working out of your garage, telling
Yep,
you and I were talking about, man, I got to get this metal building over here, and I
yep,
might just
yep,
have to put something on my parents' property, and you
yep. I
know,
mean, that's kind of where, and then we've moved from there
yep,
to a bigger place, to
hmm
another bigger place, to now I'm here, and this place isn't big enough. And we just, like I said, we just bought property right before Halloween, to build an even bigger building.
yep.
I was hoping to have that done by next summer, but that's not going to happen. I can't even get some of these places we're talking to now have got a 40+ week lead time on getting
Ooh.
building material. So yeah, we'll probably be in there 23 or so. So I guess we're gonna have to suffer one more year of excitement. So
Yeah, so I'm in the construction field. I'm a superintendent. I'm building a VA building right now, and I just talked to my door guy, and he goes, "Yeah, no problem. I can have your doors in 25 weeks." Well, I turn over the space March 1st. Um, that's a little bit before 25 weeks. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm very familiar with the procurement of materials for construction. Yeah, it's killing me right now. My job sites. Why? What? So, what are your plans for DB Drag this coming year? If you don't mind us getting to that.
Sure. Well, I'm not quite as lucky as you. I can't start my shows in 2 weeks because we just got snow today and we're getting another 4 inches tomorrow. Um, so we can't have quite the length of season that you guys can have out there.
Mhm.
Probably looking at late March, early April, we'll have our first show. We usually call it Frost Off around
Yep.
here. And things have been weird because we had a year we didn't do shows, and then with the whole COVID stuff and getting venues and event space has been tricky. My hope this year, I've got a few shows that are tentative now. Hopefully, get those lined up. My hope is every other weekend-ish have a show somewhere around here. Sounds like they're going to want us to go back and do the Michigan show as well. Not sure on timing for that one. That'll be a 3X. And,
Oh, yeah, Michigan.
try to get in some sort of cadence every other weekend,
And then
somewhere in there.
and
So
then
that
what
these
about
guys can,
Slam?
right. And, these guys got to be able to get points. That was the big struggle last year is I was able to get a few shows in, but
Hmm.
no one around here, um, unless they were driving to Indiana or, something like that. They just weren't able to get points. And so my hope is next year, get these shows going on a cadence again, get these guys pulled back in and give them more opportunity to get their points because, sometimes that can be a big struggle.
Okay. So, like I said, we talked about your subwoofers, and I'm gonna take advantage of this guy not being at the bowling alley, so I might have to make some money out there again. I really enjoy making money. It's even more fun when I take it from somebody at the bowling alley. So, anyway, real quick, how do we get a hold of you, Wyatt? If one of a competitor wants to host an event or something like that, what do we do to get a hold of you and whatnot?
Best is to just message me on Facebook. I'm pretty responsive on there. I'm working on getting a page set up that I'll put under a name and have my events and stuff under as well. But if you're interested in hosting something in the Midwest, definitely just reach out to me directly on Facebook, and we'll try to make something happen.
Okay. Nick, what do you have coming up? Anything newer and exciting? You said new subs, new amps. Are you going to CES? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually leaving this coming weekend, headed to CES. I'm not really sure how that's going to go down. It's going to probably be more of a hangout trip than a business trip because most everybody's not coming, it seems like. So
Yeah, me and Wayne aren't coming either. So
yeah, so we're gonna go. We got a few things we got to do for some customers and stuff, so we'll be there for that. But yeah, so that's kind of the next big thing. I guess since you guys are plugging shows, we'll go ahead and get it out of the way. April 23rd, Triple Fest for all the competitors. That's
Creamer.
Do what?
Is it Creamer?
Yeah, he'll be there, and we'll have so we have a triple drag, a triple mecha, and a triple Iska. We have everybody there for that. That's why it's called Triple Fest. So that's April 23rd. It's a one-day single event. Same place we had World Finals at. So we'll be doing that in April.
And is that your event then?
Yeah, Triple Fest is our event. That's how Wayne and Celise actually saw the venue to know to try to have the show there. That's when Wayne came down and wanted to try the whole freestyle thing out, and that's
Gotcha.
how kind of all that stuff just kind of fell together because it's quote unquote an outdoor venue, but yet it's a fairground, so they still had some stuff so we could get around the COVID problem. So
very cool. All right. Well, and for me, obviously, we're going to get some shows going here. If you guys check out the Iasca for California, I think he's got a early January show coming up. I'm going to put my series together here coming pretty soon. If you guys watch closely, you'll start seeing that. We'll have at least 1 to 2 shows a month out in Sacramento. We'll have at least one show a month in Reno. We're going to have 1 show a month in Fresno, possibly a second one. And we have a new venue potentially right here in Stockton, California, which may be another venue. So we'll be doing at least 4 shows a month right here within, for us on the West Coast, it's a reasonable drive. It's only 5-6 hours one way. And we're still in the same state. So just so you guys know, that's how we roll out here. So when you guys say, hey, all those shows going on in California, realize that they are not exactly right next door to each other. And if we were on the East Coast, we might be 2-3 states away from one venue to the next. So keep that in mind. Also, if you want to tip the host, this tips for the host are Venmo at SonicFX, Cash App, $SonicFX. You can see the link in the description on Facebook and YouTube, along with anywhere that I post this as a podcast. Let's see, what else do we got going on? I am still in search of a co-host. I'm looking for a permanent co-host. I would ask Nick, but he's not very fun. Hey, look, dude, just here. Yeah, usually you're putting your daughter to bed about this time. So.
I don't have a daughter, so.
Oh, you have a son. Sorry, you're putting your son. You're putting your son to bed about this time usually, right?
Yeah. I've got a 4-year-old.
Yeah. So this is bedtime. So I appreciate you coming on tonight. Talk about your subwoofers. But yeah, that's so. I am looking for somebody. I was kind of hoping I might get Hank Veach on here because he would be interesting to have on here, I would think. Also, I am reconsidering the sponsorship for the podcast. So we may start taking sponsors without Lucky helping to share in the cost of putting on this event. The costs are going to go up on me drastically. So, since I got to cover all the costs, I got to help recoup those costs. But always remember, support those who support us. Nick with Incriminator absolutely supports DB Drag and multiple organizations every single year. You can find his name on all that stuff. Oh, that's Scotty texting me. I already saw that, Scotty. Thank you. Because he's going to be at CES Monday instead of being on my program. Like, CES is important. I mean, jeez, come on, right? Anyway, I am looking for a permanent host. We are going to start talking around. I need to find somebody to sit in permanently, which I would appreciate if you guys have any suggestions. You guys can always hit me up. People for guests. New products coming out, just hit me up and let me know, and we will come on and talk about them, to kind of share them with our audience. And we're still getting, we've kind of pretty much a stalemate. We're at about 1,100 views and podcast downloads every week. So just keep that in mind. We had a lot of people watching us tonight. Thank you to Nick Wright. Remember, you can watch us on, or you can listen to this back on podcast on what's it called, on iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, anywhere else you see the podcast or you want to listen to it. Let me know if it's not available this week in Car Audio or T.W.I.C.A, as I'm kind of labeling it to help shorten it up a little bit. But if you guys want to sponsor the show, hit me up in private messenger, email, phone call, text. I'm the easiest guy in the world to get a hold of. Just go to Google, say Doug Stockton, and my phone number will pop up multiple times. You can ask Nick. You can ask Wyatt. You can ask anybody. Everybody's got my phone number. But like I said, once again, Wyatt, real quick. We haven't asked you. We have already asked Nick. Wyatt, what is your version of a bass head?
What was next?
Don't worry about it. Let's hear yours.
I honestly view it as anyone who has some subwoofers in their car and is enjoying them.
There you go. Yep. We like to say people that are proud of what they have and they have the bug, right? So that's a pretty common one. I don't care if you have a skateboard with a boombox in your head. If you're there because you have that, and I mean, for me, when I was a little kid, when I was like 14, 15, I used to listen to Biz Markie. I'd stick a balloon in front of the subwoofer in the house speaker and lean up against it so I can hear the thud against my chest. You know, so I've kind of been into bass for a long time. I had my room in a basement, and I used to corner load a single 15 in the basement to reverberate throughout the basement. So yeah, just somebody who enjoys the culture and the feelings you get from the subwoofer, and the people that are part of the whole the whole culture and the lifestyle. So that's it for me. So. But anyway, once again, I want to say thank you, Nick. Thank you, Wyatt, for tuning in. Thank you for everybody listening on the podcast or on YouTube or Facebook. Remember, hit the like, share button. The more we get this out, the more people get to see this, get to learn about what we're doing. And always remember, bring one person with you to every show, and in 1 year, we will double our participation. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming on today, and we will see you guys next week, 6 p.m. on Monday night on This Week in Car Audio with, I don't know who my guest is going to be, but we will find somebody. I might even talk to Tristan or Tiffany about being a guest host next week and see how that goes. Anyway, guys, once again, thank you for being here, and good night. All right, guys, we're in the outro. Oh, he already shut off. AJ, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it, bud.